This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Shalom Aleichem, good morning. Welcome to our viewers on Torah Anytime as well. I want to dedicate this year for the Atzlacha of Ben Zion Ben Dosa, him and his family, and for the Refuah Shlema, Chaim Meir Dov Ben Yente, who needs a lot of Rachmei Shamayim. Baruch Hashem, together today we all get a big Mazel Tov anniversary, second year. We started Chayei Sara 2 years ago. So I want to thank the organizers, the facilitators, the sponsors, the participants, the viewers here and in Chutz La'aretz, the Chashuv, a photographer, Avadia, Shekoyach Godol. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Hashem should give us koyach to continue for many years together to be able to learn Emet Hashem. Chayei Sara Imenu passes away at 127, very young age. How come she had to die at 127? Why did she die so early? I'm saying early because her husband will live till 175. And 5 years were taken off. Lichoira, he should have lived to 180. Yitzchak Avinu died at the age of 180. Yaakov Avinu, 147. So 127 is young. How come her life was shortened?
Avinu, she was upset with him over the fact that he dealt with Ishmael, not sent him away.
That's why she died?
Whoever asked
Rashi, the beginning of the Pasha. Why did she die?
just within.
Rashi, the beginning of the Pasha. The Sultan told her, you know what happened? Don't ask. Yitzchak, shechted. Yitzchak was shechted. Her soul departed. That's what Rashi says, right?
But they also the person that asked for din, and another person asked for din.
Oh, very good.
That cut short the reply.
Good.
Satan lied to them? Satan lied to Sarah?
The language of the Midrash is because she kizva, she didn't use the truth to when she was accused. How come you left? I didn't left. I left. She changed from the truth, so the Satan changed from the truth to her. Measure for measure, that's how Kodesh Baruch Hu conducts his world. When she was accused, how come you left? You didn't believe when we told you you're going to have a kid? I left. No. Lo tzachakti, ki yareah. She was afraid. She said, no, I never left. By the way, the Midrash says that's the reason women are disqualified to be witnesses in Beis Din. Because out of fear, they will change from the truth. Pilei ploim, we learn it from Sara Imenu. I think Bereishis Rabbas, he says that in the Shemedes Chiddush. There's another Midrash, I think Pirkei Rebbe Eliezer says that the reason is because of Chava. She also changed a little from the truth, also a little intimidated. When the Nachash and Adam Arishon says, oh, the Jewish, no, it's not me. You change when, what she changed from the truth is, Adam Arishon told her we're not allowed to eat. And she told the Nachash we're not allowed to touch. You see, from here says Pirkei Rebbe Eliezer, that's why she was punished, she and all women to come, that you're not allowed to be witnesses in Beis Din. But we started with the question, why did Sara Imenu die right now, young as if? Famous answer is Rashi. I think we brought in previous years other answers. Rabbeinu Chaim Paltiel from the Rishonim and the Riva, also one of the Rishonim, Baalei HaTosfos, and they say, no, Sara Imenu was so happy. Yitzchak was selected to become a korban for Klal Yisrael, Gevaldik! And sometimes when you're so happy, neshama can't contain, the body can't contain the neshama in that state, and her neshama departed. Anu Chiddush today. Another Medrash, Bereishis Rabasi. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Bar Simon. At the time that Sarah laughed, and she said, I can have children, but my husband, he is ancient. Lama tzachaka Sarah? Lefi shelo emina. She laughed because she didn't believe. She didn't believe, and therefore her life was shortened. That's what the Medrash says. I think it's a Medrash. I think it's a midah keneged midah. She didn't believe that her husband can bring life into this world. Measure for measure, her life was taken from this world. It's still a big chiddush. The pasuk says Avraham Avinu is trying to look for a burial place. Ve'ekbera meisi lefanai. And continues and repeats it again. Ve'es mescha kvor. Says the Gaon Vilna, 6 times we find the word burial before the word death. Ve'egbera es meisi. I will bury my dead person. Kvor es meischa. Mikvor meischa. Likvor meisi. Kvor meischa. Ve'egbera es meisi. 6 times the word kvura comes before the word death. It should be the reverse. First the person dies, and then he is buried. But the 7th time, it's the opposite. Ve'et mescha kvor. First the dead person appears, and then the kvura. What's going on here? At least be consistent. First of all, the 6 times don't make sense, because first you die and then you're buried. And if you want to say it for whatever reason that way, at least be consistent and keep the 7th time as well. But now you're changing it, and first death is mentioned, and then kvura. Says the Gaon Vilna. At that time that Avraham Avinu was purchasing this place, who's already buried there? Adam and Chava. So 3 more couples are supposed to be buried there. And they are Avraham and Sarah, Yitzchak and Rivka, Yaakov, Aliya. Anybody else should be buried there? Yeah. The head of Esav. Soita Yud Gimel, Pirkei Rabbi Eliezer, Targum Yonasan, Parshas Vayechi. Esav's head rolled, went into the cave, and it will be buried there. So you have the Maaseh 3 couples, 6 tzaddikim, and an Esav. Brachos Daf Yud Ches Amud Aleph, we learn that a Rasha is called a dead man walking. He's already called mes. He's a dead person while he is alive. A tzaddik, even after his demise, is still called alive. Tzaddikim b'moisan kuim chaim. Reshaim b'chayeyem kuim mesim. The Gemara in Shabbos Kuf Nun Beis asks, the Gemara makes a statement, Kuf Nun Beis Amud Beis, that Tzaddikim's bones do not decompose. Those who don't have jealousy in their bones, in their body, they won't decompose. Ask the Gemara, how is it possible? There's a pasuk. Ve'elafar tashuv. You're supposed to go back to dirt. The Gemara says, no. That's talking about 1 hour before Tchias HaMeisim. The tzaddikim will also experience that, but only 1 hour. So it comes out that the tzaddik, even when technically speaking he is dead, he is still alive. So what do you do with the tzaddik first? First you bury him. Later on, an hour before Tchias HaMeisim, he will actually die. So therefore 6 times it says the word kvura before death, because 6 tzaddikim will actually be buried before they're technically dead. But Esav is a rasha. First he dies. He's already dead when he is alive. And then comes the kvura. So once, the 7th time, it says, first the dead person, that's Esav, and then the kvura. What's that?
That's sure is right, Billy Play.
Yeah, it's Gaon Vilna. Avraham Avinu paid an exorbitant amount for a burial spot for Sarah Imeinu. How much did he pay? I don't understand what that means in today's values. The Maaseh today, shekels, dollars, euro. What's that? $1 million. $1 million. Some make calculations, it's around $10 million of today's currency. Today, $10 million. 37 or so 37 million shekels. Euros, you do the math. Great. It makes a lot of sense. Why are you so surprised? It's the biggest chus in the world to be buried in Eretz Yisrael. Gemara in Kuf Yud Beis says, Kuf Yud Aleph actually, Amud Aleph. One who is buried in Eretz Yisrael, it's as if he is buried under the Mizbeach, and it's an atonement for all his sins. Ksubis. So the Gemara says, so wait a second. So you don't have to live here. Live in Chutz La'aretz, and make sure that you're buried in Eretz Yisrael. If you're buried in Eretz Yisrael, it's like you're buried under the Mizbeach. The Gemara says, no. It's not the same. Eino doime kol tato michayim. It's not the same if you live here and the land absorbs you when you're alive, or a person who died somewhere else and is brought here and the land absorbs him after his death. That's the Gemara says. Living in Eretz Yisrael, unbelievable maida. One daf before, Kuf Yud Amud Beis, the Gemara says, a person should rather live le'olam. Listen to our language. In Ramallah is part of Eretz Yisrael, full of Arabs. Better, I'm not going to mention places in Chutz La'aretz, better than living in a place where it's all Jewish people, but it's in Chutz La'aretz. Why? The Gemara says one who lives in Chutz La'aretz, it's as if doesn't have a eloka. As if he serves Avodah Zarah. And one has a source to live in Eretz Yisrael, Keilu yesh lo eloka. So tremendous merits. The Gemara also says there in Kufit Aleph Amud Aleph, one who dwells in Eretz Yisrael, Sharoi Beloi Avon. He doesn't have any sins. So we find that being buried in Eretz Yisrael is a tremendous amaila. But living here is so much greater. So if Avraham Avinu was willing to pay $10 million just for the zchus to be buried here, how much would a person be willing to part with in order to have the zchus to live here? It's exactly the opposite of what the world says. If I have a certain amount of money, then I can go to Azor, I can live comfortably. It's exactly the opposite. We see from here the zchus has to be acquired. If the zchus to be buried here is so great, how much should a person be willing to pay in order to have the zchus to live in Eretz Yisrael? Aisha niknes in how many ways? Shloisha drachim. Drachim? Aisha niknes, an acquisition. So you really should have said Aisha niknes b'shloisha kinyanim. Shloisha oifanim. Why the word drachim? 3 paths? What does that mean? It's an acquisition. There are 3 acquisitions. The Ger Rebbe once said, because a person who gets married has to realize the fact that he's getting married is only a derech. That's not the goal. It's a derech. The goal is to have doiros, yeshorim, mevorachim, great successive generations are going to follow in the footsteps of the Messiah of Tal Yisrael. The marrying is only a way to do it. It's a hechsher mitzvah, as if it's a machloikis, it's a hechsher mitzvah, it's an actual mitzvah. But it's only a derech, it's only a path that you have to travel in order to reach the big goal, which is to have doiros, yesharim, mevorachim. So one of those 3 kinyanim is kesef, kiddushay kesef. How do we know kiddushay kesef works? Kesef minalan. How do we know that's an acquisition that works to acquire a woman? Kicha. Ki yikach ish isha, if one marries a wife, Parshas Kiseitze, and in our Parsha, natati kesef asadeh, kach mimeni, kach, kicha, same word, gzer hashava, it works. Many ask, what? To learn Kiddusha Isha from the transaction with a Rasha? To learn it from an acquisition of a cemetery? A cemetery? So the cynicals around will say, yeah, because that's where it ends. You get married. Chas v'shalom. So why is it? That we learn Kiddushim dafka from an acquiring of a cemetery and from a Rasha? Normally when one sends a piece of land, it's either that the seller is happy and the buyer is sad, or the reverse. The seller has this land and he owns it in his family for many generations. He has to get rid of it. He needs the money. What can he do? So he says goodbye to the karka, and he's happy to meet the money, but he is sad to let the karka that was in their family possession for so many generations. So the seller is sad, but the buyer is getting a great piece of land, so he's happy. Sometimes it's the opposite. The seller is stuck with this piece of land that doesn't do anything, can't grow anything on it, so he's so happy to get rid of it. The buyer, every single day when he finds out how terrible this deal that he made is, he's so sad. But this specific purchase, Avraham and Ephron, this transaction was unique. Because Avraham Avinu was elated until the rest of his life, and so too was Ephron. Chazal say that Ephron tried to plant all kinds of things in this land. Nothing would grow. At one point he figured, can't have anything growing here, build some buildings. But at night he would hear all kinds of sounds. Shedim, and ruchois, and mazikim, and malachei chabala. This place became known. Stay away from this place. People of the city of Hebron wouldn't want to step foot in that place. It's dangerous. So Ephron knew, I'm stuck with this. I'll never be able to sell it. Suddenly this old Jewish fellow comes with white beard all the way down to his knees, and he says, can I give you $1 million? Yeah, $10 million? Yes! Finally, I got it. It's great. And he goes home, and he says to his wife, Michigan, $10 million for a noble piece of land. This is the deal of a lifetime. At the same time, Avraham Avinu, when he was offered to purchase it for only $10 million, he says, only $10 million, this is unbelievable. This is a place when Adam and Chava are buried. This is a place, as Zohar HaKodesh says, where Tchias HaMeisim will start from. This is a place where all the tefillos of Klal Yisrael ascend to HaKodesh Baruch Hu. This is a place, as Zohar HaKodesh also says, it's the entrance to Gan Eden. $10 million? Kidding me? I'll give 50 and give $100 million as well. It's a deal of a lifetime. So Avraham Avinu and Ephron go back home and figure they're the luckiest people in the world, and they continue to think like that until the end of their lives. That's why Kiddushei Kesef is learned dafka from this purchase, because that's how the Chassan and Kala should view this deal. Wow! I'm married to a lady that there is no one like her in the whole world, and she has to see the same, she has to think the same, and to feel the same towards her husband. If that's the case, they're going to have an everlasting Shalom Bayis.
Will the tefillos come derech the Shara Shamayim, the Beis HaMikdash?
Yeah. Zohar HaKodesh says, though, through Ma'aras HaMachpelah. I don't know if it goes there first or second, but that's what the Zohar HaKodesh says.
Would it be more obvious to learn it out from what Aliya did, when he put the jewellery on...
There are many other transactions that, in theory, you could have learned it from. But the Chiddush is here that both the seller and the buyer are happy forever. So that's great to learn Kiddushei Kesef from both seller and buyer are happy, because we want the Chassan and Kala to be happy as long as they're together. And Emir Hashem, they're going to be together for many, many years to come. Ve'Avraham Zaken ba bayamim. Avraham Avinu was old. Sgula la'arichus yamim. In this pasuk, Zaken ba bayamim. Soifei tevois, not the Rashi tevois. The last letter in each of these three words, Zaken ba bayamim. Zaken ends with a nun. Ba ends with an aleph. Yamim ends with a mem. Amen. Says the Minchas Yaakov. If you say Amen, it's a sgula le'arichus yamim. And that's why it's dafka in Soifei tevois to tell you that the end will delay and not come. Avraham Zaken ba bayamim, from Zikna itself. From his old age, you learn how to get there. How? By saying Amen, saying it with Kavana, Segula, Le'arichus Yamin. So Eliezer is looking for a Shidduch. And he's going to perform this little test for the prospective Kala. Let's see if she knows anything about Chesed. I'm going to ask her for some water. If she gives me water, no, so the camels, bingo, she's the one. But it seems that this test is a little too small. It seems that it's a little too easy. She shows a little generosity. Oh, you're going to be the mama of Klal Yisrael. Why through this test? And maybe she will give him water. You know why? She's embarrassed. She's embarrassed to refuse. He's an older person. He looks distinguished. She's a little girl. According to most Midrashim, she is 3 years old. Some Midrashim have her at 14. She's still a little kid. Eliezer is a much older than her, and he looks distinguished with a whole big entourage. I'm gonna say no to him. I'll give him. So maybe she's embarrassed, and that's why she gave him water. Who says that qualifies her to be the mother of Klal Yisrael? And even if she's not embarrassed, she does so because she really is into Chesed. But that testifies about the rest of her personality. Maybe this lady, if you get her angry, she gets angry like this. She gets so fast. She is careless and she's hasty. Maybe she's stubborn like anything. Maybe she doesn't excel in Midas HaEmes. Well, she's generous. She loves Chesed. Great. But what about the rest? How do you see from here that she is terrific girl, mamish? No one like her. So much so she should be the mother of Klal Yisrael. Good child. Asks the Madrigas Adam, the Alter of Novardok. And he says, by doing what she did, Rivka showed that she aspires for shleimus. She wants to be great, highest level possible. Because if she was only embarrassed to say no, she would give him the water and split. I'm out of here. But she goes again and again and again. Can I get you more water? Can I get the camels? Who has to do that? Let me have some water. So she just should give him the water and go back home. But she stays. With that, she shows, I want to do the best possible. You know what your camel drinks on average? How much?
A lot.
On average, they say about 25 gallons, which is about 95 liters. That's one camel. You got to be crazy about Chesed to continue doing this. That's 25 gallons times 10 camels and the slaves. You're 3 years old. Then Eliezer knew this girl here is something special. She's all about Chesed. Fine, but who says she excels in all other areas? What about the rest of the midos? So Alter Navartok reveals to us how it works. All the midos are dependent on one another because they all come from one source, that is the neshama. So if you see that she excels in one midah, you have to assume that's her personality. She excels, that she tries to excel in all other areas. And that's why Eliezer knew, if she excels here, that's all I need. I know she strives to be the best she can in all other areas. The Madrigas Adam takes this and explains, a person wants to upgrade his personality. He wants to be a little better. But then he's confused. Okay, sure, what should I start with? What midah? He says, it doesn't make a difference. At least start with something. As long as you do, you're good. It will propel you to action in all other areas. But you have to start with something because all the midos are dependent on one another. They're connected because they all come from one source. And if you have that in you and you want to upgrade yourself, once you start, all the other midos will follow as well.
Working practice, because we know many cases, like for example, Achitophel, he was very strong in the middle of Limud Torah. He was a huge Talmud Chacham.
Limud Torah is not a midah. Midah is a midah Torah, it's a character traits, not Limud Torah. And Sukkah Nun Beis, Kol HaGodol Michaveroi, Yitzro Godol Imeno. The greater the person is, the greater Yetzer Hara is as well. And the Yetzer Hara is always going to be there trying to fight. But you have to show you have aspirations to be a great person. Riddle of the week. Eliezer is riding a camel. Camels are mentioned a few times in this parsha. That gives us a chance to ask a question about camels. Normally camels are on the ground and a person sits on them and he rides the camel. Was there ever a time that is the reverse and camels are actually sitting on a person? Not one camel. More than one camel sitting on a person. Instead of what we expect, that the person is riding a camel, the camel is riding a person.
Was that something with the well?
What about the well?
When he gets to the well,
Who is the person that camels sat on?
no.
Eliezer? Camel sat on him?
No, he picked up through the river.
Yalkut Shimoni, you're going to get 2 points. We're going to see how. Yalkut Shimoni in our Pasha in Remez Kuf Tes. There's a few midrashim and you'll see the answer from all three together. When Lavan saw the jewelry that Rivka got, he said, oh, wait a second. I think this man, Eliezer, was actually with Rivka. And therefore he ran to kill Eliezer. And when Eliezer saw that he's running towards him, he saw this is not going to be good. It's going to be trouble. He took the camels and he lifted them in the air and he stood on the camels while they're in the air. He stood on the camels while the camels are in the air. That's the language of Yalkut Shimoni. Vehu oimed al hagmalim ba'avir. When Lavan saw this, he said, whoa, this guy is a tzaddik. And that's why he uses a surprising language, Bo Baruch Hashem. Why are you mentioning Baruch Hashem? This is not normally how you speak. He saw this man it's not from this neighborhood, it's somebody, I don't know where he came from. He's a tzaddik, and therefore he said Bo Baruch Hashem. That's Yalkut Shimoni. Medrash Agada, on this pasuk in Chavdalet Kaftes says, when Lavan saw all the jewelry on Rivka, he figured something is going on between Eliezer and her, and therefore he ran. Again, he tried to kill Eliezer. When Eliezer saw this, he took 10 camels in one hand, Asar Agmalim biyado achas, and transferred them over the river. Bereishis Rabasi, and here comes the answer to our question. At that time, the Lavan runs to him. Eliezer, was taking 2 camels and putting them on his shoulders. And that's how he passed him the river. And since Lavan saw this is a mighty individual, he's so strong, he figured even though I was trying to kill him, it's not going to work. The only way it can work is to give him some poison. And that's how we got this idea, we'll have a meal together and I'll put some poison in his food because mano a mano, I can't take this guy. He's much stronger than me. He can put 2 camels on his shoulders. So that's the answer to our question. Camels are sitting on Eliezer's shoulders. I can't hear you.
It's not Betuel who tried to poison him?
He's the one where he's going to exercise Lavan's great idea.
It was Lavan's idea.
Since you did so good in the previous riddle, I'm going to ask you another one. If you don't know the answer, I'm going to take those 2 points away. Many numbers are mentioned in the Torah. Many numbers throughout the Torah. For example, here, 10 camels. What's the biggest number mentioned in Chamisha Chumshei Torah? The biggest number that there is. Sometimes Kodesh Baruch Hu counts Klal Yisrael. How many do they get to? Total number?
Oh, total 600.
That's nothing. That's a tiny little number. What's that?
The stars,
That's the language in the Torah? Is it? Is it that exact language in the Torah? I don't recall this type of a pasuk. What about Har Sinai? How many people stood there? That's only 600,000. And that's a number that's going to repeat itself in Sefer Bamidbar whenever people are counted. It's going to be a little more than 600,000. It's a small number.
Lavan's bracha to Rivka.
Lavan's bracha to Rivka. What is he, Taylor? Achoseinu at heyi le'alfei revava. What's a revava? 10,000. What's alfei? 2,000. Has to be at least 2,000. 2,000 times 10,000? 20 million. So that's got to be the biggest number in the Torah, 20,000, and you get the 2 points. You can keep yours. The pasuk says in 24:60, Chav Daled Samech, Achoseinu, our sister, at heyi you should become alfei revava. Revava is 10,000. Alfei has to be at least 2,000. 2,000 times 10,000 is 20 million. Avraham Avinu dies. Vayigva. Vayamos Avraham b'seiva toiva. And Avraham Avinu expired and he died. How did he die? Cancer, car accident. Chas v'shalom? What do you mean? He died. Ultimately he dies. As a result of what? Was it a car accident? Was it cancer? Old age. He just expired. Anyone has a different answer? Because that's not the answer. Usually there's something. You saying he didn't die?
Kiss?
You're confusing us with Shabbos Nun Hey. The Gemara says 4 people shouldn't have died. And the only reason they died is because of Gezerah of the Nachash. Avraham Avinu is not one of the 4. It's Amram, it's Yishai, it's Kilav, and Binyamin.
That's another reason. Someone died. Besides the car accident and cancer.
But ultimately he dies. The pasuk says he dies. I'm asking, how did he die?
Hashem want him to see us out.
I'm not asking why. I'm asking how. Was it a car accident? Was it cancer? Lemaisa he died. On the death certificate, they write the reason for death. They're not going to write because Ishmael. What did the doctors write on the death certificate? Ratzon Haboreh. That's only if they're really big tzaddikim. But how did Ratzon Haboreh, how did it manifest itself? That's my question. Avraham Avinu.
It says he died from Sefer Torah.
Not from Sefer Torah. Sefer Torah is a wonderful thing. It describes that he was satiated. He had a great life.
Because he shouldn't see Esau.
That's not what the Medrash says. That's not what the Medrash says. Bereish Yisrael b'Parashat Samech Beis Ois Beis. Amar Reb Yehuda bar Ilai. Hachasidim arishonim ayu misyasrin becholi me'ayim. Intestinal problems. And then they died. Because intestinal problems cleans you up. Reb Yehuda says, Kol mi shene'emar bo gvia. Anytime this word appears, gvia, he expired, you should know, mes bechoili me'aim. He died from intestinal disease. Choili me'aim, this intestinal disease, is the worst of all diseases. The Gemara in Shabbos, Daf Yud Aleph Amud Aleph says, Kol choli, that any disease come, except v'lo choli me'aim. So much so, the Gemara in Eruvin, Mem Aleph Amud Beis says, there's 3 people who, when they leave this world, do not see Gehenna. They go straight to Gan Eden. Who are they? Lucky guys. One whose wife rules over him. He has a bad wife. One who owes a lot of money, and every 2 minutes somebody else comes knocking on the door. His life is miserable. And a person who suffered choli me'aim. Person who suffered intestinal virus. It's so difficult. So the Gemara says, since they had hell in this world, there's no reason to give them another hell in the next one. It cleans the body, so the soul, it's easier for the soul to depart afterwards. That's why it's a death for tzaddikim. The body becomes pure, the nefesh is pure, and the neshama departs. It's interesting that the same language is used for Yitzchak, which makes sense to us because he gives us now a rule. Anytime you see this word, gvia, expires, it means he died from choli me'aim because it's tzaddik. But the same language is used about Yishmael. Yishmael. Maybe this is a proof that the Gemara says in Baba Daf Tetzayin Amud Beis that Yishmael did tshuva. How do you know? The Pasuk says Vayigva, he expired. Expired is a language associated with tzaddikim. It must be that Yishmael did tshuva. I wrote this many years ago. This week I was zeichet to see a medrash. Baruch Hashem. Mamish, word for word. The medrash in Sechel Tov in Bereishis Chafei Yud Zayin says Vayigva regarding Yishmael becholi me'aim. He died from intestinal problems. Kedei lemarek avonoisav, in order to clean him from all his sins. Ki asa tshuva v'nisyaser becholi me'aim, because he did tshuva, as the Gemara Basa says, and therefore he was afflicted choli me'aim. So for the little that one does still have in this world, he comes out of this. He's 100% clear and pure. Now he goes directly to Gan Eden. No need to pass or even to go by near Gehenna and to feel the heat coming out of there.
Who was the third one? You said 3 people. Abraham, Yishmael.
Avram, Yitzchak Avinu, and Yishmael is also mentioned the same language.
Doesn't say Gevia by Doram Abu.
Maybe when it's talking about everybody together, a general language, maybe it's not fair. When you're talking about specific individual, the Medrash says, Kol mi shene'emar bo, any individual that this word Gevia is mentioned, mes becholi me'ayin.
There are much worse than intestinal problems.
That's what you say. The Gemara begs to differ. The Gemara says, Kol choli, Shabbos Yud Aleph, Kol choli, velo choli me'aim. Is it all language?
What's the
answer the question by saying the Torah tells you explicitly how they died, like the flood, that doesn't include it.
Correct. When it just says Gevia and he expired with no mention how exactly it came about, so that's what the Medrash says, choli me'aim. But when it tells you Gevia and it says how, so it must be that it's not from choli me'aim. 2 points just for that answer. I'm sure you're well aware of the Shidduch crisis. Big Shidduch crisis, right? There's many people who are 25 and 30 and 35 and 40 and still not married. And we should all daven for them. So there was a rich guy in the States who decided he got to do something about this crisis. So he put an ad in one of the Fru magazines, I don't know which one, Mishpacha, Ami, one of those, that any Shaddchan who is going to marry off a boy or a girl older than 30 is going to get from him $10,000. On top of the Shaddchanus yelt that he's going to get from the 2 sides, from the parents of both sides. It's nothing to do with him. He's going to give because he wants to motivate people to try and help these wonderful boys and girls who are happy to be 30. So as long as you have a boy or a girl who is more than 30, you're getting $10,000. Great. There was a Shaddchan who saw this ad, and he was making a Shidduch for a boy who is 29 years old and 10 months. And for a girl who was a little younger, I think she was 27. Shidduch is going very well. 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. They met many times. And after 4 weeks, everything is ready. Shaddchan calls one of the sides, says, listen, there's some kind of problems, we're trying to resolve it right now, hold on. He calls the other side, listen, there's some issues, we're trying to resolve it, no, it's Hashem, just be patient, hopefully we'll be able to resolve it, let's daven. We might go to the Chesed for 40 days. When the boy hit his 30th birthday, on the day the Shaddchan calls, Baruch Hashem, issues are resolved, can get engaged. And they did. The day of. Simen tov u'mazel tov. Shaddchan calls the rich guy, pay up, $10,000. Shaddchan says, wow, you're able to get them engaged? 30, yeah, it's a mamash, it's his birthday. On his birthday, wow. Shaddchan hangs up, the rich guy hangs up, something didn't smell so right. Start doing some investigations. How is it possible? On his birthday he got engaged, 2 months after I put the ad. He calls both sides and he does his investigations and he realized what happened. The Shaddchan delayed the process by a month because he wanted to make sure he gets to the age of 30 so he can get the $10,000. The rich guy says, sorry, I don't pay for that. I said that I'm going to pay for a Shaddchan who does his theory, not a Shaddchan who does it in a cunning way, who tries to delay the Shidduch, chas v'shalom. And second of all, when I put the ad, I didn't write Mr. Koyen the Shaddchan. I didn't write Mr. Levi the Shaddchan. I wrote it in a very general way. I never committed to you, and therefore I don't have to pay you. And in fact, I don't have to pay anyone. When you do it in such a general way, I don't think I'm committed to anyone. Baruch Hashem, I'm very happy that it worked, and you did the Shidduch. And if you would have done it in a different way, it could be that I actually would pay you, but I don't think I'm actually committed to anyone because I never committed to a specific person. And definitely not the way you brought it about. The Shaddchan says, what are you talking about? It says very clearly, if you make a Shidduch to a boy or girl who is 30, this boy was 30, you get 10,000. I did my part, what I needed to do, based on this ad. Of course, I should be paid. Boy side, what do you say?
The Shidduch happened the first day he introduced them.
Really?
Yeah.
You're talking as a prophet, you're talking as a...
The Shidduch is the Mira. I'm sorry. They met before he was 30. That was
So if after the first date, boy likes girl, girl likes boy, even if without it, he has to pay? The side, forget about the rich guy. The families have to pay?
If it turns into marriage.
Mm-hmm. That's a big chiddush what you're saying. Which is a chiddush not la'alacha. We paskin that the shidduch is based on the results. Only after they get engaged, we'll say, you know how many things can go wrong and do go wrong until they actually get engaged, even though they liked each other, even though they met each other for 6 months they've been dating. Right. When you get engaged, then we say the Shaddchan did his work. Until then, and it could be, and many times it happens, one Shaddchan starts, and another Shaddchan who is called the Goymer, he's the one who completes the job. The first Shaddchan, many times will only get 1/3 of the Shaddchan who's guilt. The other Shaddchan, the one who's a Goymer, the one who closes the deal, he gets 2/3. So, who says it has to do with the fact that you got him to meet? That doesn't promise anything.
I'm not sure about the second reason, but the first one, the purpose of the offer was very clear.
To make people who are 30 to get married.
Not to delay, so that means that the guy...
Is it not to delay, or so finally to see them under the chuppah?
But not... They would have gone under the chuppah even before, if this Shaddchan...
No, so they waited until 30, they waited another 4 weeks.
I think it's just... It's not within the spirit of what the ad was. So the Shaddchan did something that was against what the purpose of the ad was.
I'm not sure that's not the purpose. The purpose is to get them finally married, and he did within 2 months.
But he also sabotaged it because by making these...
he didn't. Yeah, look, go see them now. Baruch Hashem, they're happily married.
He took a risk because you're saying she's getting cold feet, he's getting...
As a businessman, I take risks. But Lemaisa, it worked.
It could have
the more you wait for it, the sweeter it'll be. He got them to wait to even...
He went for the wrong people. They were not 30 years old yet. The guy offered 30-year-olds. He went to 29-year-olds. From the onset, he's not even going for the right thing. He wasn't doing...
Why? The rich guy put the ad. If you get somebody who is 30 or more, I'll give you $10,000. Any person in the world who reached the age of 30, by definition, was once 29. Which means it doesn't make a difference to me when you start, but I gotta get him engaged. 30 or more, you get 10K. And he did.
Could be the fact that he delayed it, so through the delay, therefore then they should have gotten, and then he's trying to get a shidduch as soon as possible, for him to be engaged. By him delaying it, that in itself was made it bad.
I don't know if it's good or bad, but lemaisa, he got a 30-year-old guy to get engaged. Why don't you want to pay him? Maybe he's not a nice guy.
Under false pretenses.
What false? I'll show you to that Zehut. It says the guy is 30. It's his birthday. You told me if I get this guy engaged, you give me 10K. Why don't you want to pay? Half of you guys say yes, and half of you guys say no.
Is he mechuyev?
Shara 5,000.
Is he mechuyev? If he would make a shidduch, a regular good shidduch for a 35-year-old couple, would he be mechuyev min adin to pay al Shaddchan, or is it stam flagas devar ma'alim asmat tulakan?
That's the second claim of the rich guy. First of all, I don't like what you did, and second of all, since it was a very general ad, I never committed myself to a specific person. You never came to me before. I don't owe you $1. That's his second part. Is he right? It's part of the shayla.
The second part, I'm not sure I understand how it can stand. He said, whoever does this.
Whoever. Who's whoever?
Everybody. Anybody. A Jushmo does it, he has to go and claim the thing.
If a guy would come to him and say, I just made a shidduch, he would pay him? Does he have to pay him? Maybe. You think that's what I intended when I wrote it in the ad?
But what he's intended for sure is that the Jewish couple gets married after 30. So
Jewish couple for sure, but through what means?
Why not pay the goy? He wants the people to get married.
Do you think that's what I intended?
Yes. Why not?
Yes? Doesn't make a difference to you. As long as I see people who are 30 and more under the chuppah. But I shalo. How come? For sure. Which means when you're speaking in general terms, you're not committed to anyone. So you can always say afterwards, you know what? I don't have to pay you.
That's easy.
Correct? Correct?
No, that doesn't make sense.
According to you, it doesn't make sense or it does make sense. You said to a goy is patu. How can it be patu? It can only be patu if it's the only non-principle. If a general term doesn't obligate me, so it doesn't obligate me to Yidins and to goyim. If it does obligate me, it obligates me to anyone who performs the service that I requested.
What was the intention?
I'm asking you. It seems from the ad that he wants to see people under the chuppah, of course, Jewish people under the chuppah all the time, especially guys and girls who reach the age of 30. That's his intention.
He should pay.
He should pay. 10,000, Tavinut Kinin? We have already one suggestion here for a compromise, 5,000. Anybody wants to lower it? So we have 0, 5,000, and 10,000. Any other? 5,000 to the couple. Should have to start their life with.
Give my kut to the Shaddchan for having done what he's done.
Psh, you like it?
Right. I mean,
is getting married a mitzvah?
He's done some rishut.
Yes.
Is getting...
Yes.
Zrizin Magdim le-mitzvahs. How can you like what he did? Zrizin Magdim le-mitzvahs. You run, you pursue mitzvahs.
Which mitzvah? He delayed the mitzvah.
So the Shaddchan is wrong for what he did.
Wrong, right?
I thought you said you liked what he did.
I said give him malchus.
Give him malchus. I thought give him monkey. Give him money.
No.
Lashes. With the payment or without? For every, if it's 39, divide 10,000 by 39. For every lash, he gets whatever it is. What's that? In Beis Din, when they give lashes, they actually say a pasuk. What pasuk? 3 times. So instead of saying the pasuk, you just give dollars. I think they actually have some people who are going to volunteer to get the lashes. Let's see.
Is it English birthday or is it Hebrew birthday?
Hebrew. A Goyish one is a Chilul Hashem. We don't use it. It's meaningless. Daf Yomi, about a week ago. That is our remez. At least for the second part of the rich person's taina. Baba Basa. Any Daf Yomi people here? Daf Yoimi. Kuf Mem Aleph Amud Beis. What is up today? Kuf Mem Tes? Kuf Nun? Kuf Nun. So 9 days ago. The Gemara says, the top of the page over there. Kuf Mem Aleph Amud Beis. Kuf Mem Aleph Amud Beis. The Gemara says, if a person, he's probably in a different town, and he says, anyone who's going to announce to me that my wife had a baby boy or a baby girl, and he says, I'll give $100 if I hear this good news. But he never mentioned a name of a person. He didn't tell you. He didn't send you on a mission. He said, anyone who will tell me that my wife had a son, I will give him $100. And Reuven runs over to him, your wife just had a son. Does he have to pay him? This is exactly what the rich guy says. I said in the general term, I'm not obligated to Reuven. I don't know Reuven. Does he have to pay or not? Daf Yoimi. The Gemara says, yes, of course he has to pay. If he says, I'm going to give $100 to a person who tells me my wife had a daughter, he has to pay. Which means, even though you didn't commit to a specific person, when you announce something like that publicly, you become mishubad. You're subjected to this obligation that you created, and you chayav to pay the person who did the work for you. Shalat Teshuvas Harosh, very similar. He writes in Klal Samiches, a person borrows $1,000. Normally, on the shtar that you write, I owe $1,000 to Reuven, who just lent me $1,000. But instead of writing it this way, he agreed with the lender, I'm going to write, I will pay $1,000 to whoever comes with this shtar and gives it to me. Which means, Mr. Lender, you're allowed to give it to other people, and whoever will come and show this shtar, I'm obligated to pay them. What do you mean whoever? Whoever? Don't care who it is? Yes. Does it work? Yes. If both parties agreed, it works. This is what Shulchan Aruch paskins la'alacha. Choshen Mishpat Simin Samech Aleph Seif Daled. If the borrower will be presented with the shtar, but whoever, because it says whoever carries this shtar, I owe them $1,000. It works. One of the proofs that the Rosh brings for making this statement is Shaul HaMelech. We learn in Melachim, we learn in Shmuel Aleph, Perek Zayin, Pasuk Kafei, that Shaul HaMelech committed himself. He said, whoever is going to kill Goliath, I will give him my daughter to get married to. And because of this commitment, Shaul HaMelech had to give David HaMelech, who killed Goliath, his daughter. Even though he didn't commit to a specific person, to David, he committed in general. Whoever does it, it was done publicly, it obligates you. There's only a shara there, the Gemara discusses in Sanhedrin Yutes regarding the money, is it considered mekadesh b'milveh or not, but that's a side point. But he had to give his daughter over to David because he committed something in public, in general terms, exactly like our rich guy. So, the fact that the Shalat Teshuvas Harosh takes this Maaseh of Shaul HaMelech and uses it as a proof, it shows that Shaul HaMelech didn't do it as a king. I'm committing myself as a king. He committed himself as a person who wants a certain service done and is willing to pay for it, whatever the money or whatever he is willing to pay, and that will be giving his daughter to whoever is going to give him that information or whoever will provide that type of service.
He went to Beis Din? This is a real case?
Of the rich guy?
Yes.
Why?
Why is the Rav bringing it up? Did it actually come to fruition?
It is right now. This is the Beis Din. Shimun HaRabbi said Dayanim Omchim. Let's see where we're taking it. We didn't finish.
It didn't happen yet.
Let's see. All the stories I make up are real. The Chayei Sara over there explains that when you make such an announcement, that's midin shlichus. When you say, whoever is going to provide me this service, give me this information, you actually making the entire world potentially your shaliach. And lemaisa, after the fact, when the guy comes and does what you wanted to do, it retroactively becomes clear that he was your shaliach. And since shlichus does not require kinyan, and it's sufficient to say be'al peh to a person verbally, you are my shaliach, it works. And you don't need the din of bereira. You don't need to know ahead of time who you're sending as a shaliach. It works even retroactively when you find out later Shaul HaMelech finds out later that David HaMelech was his shaliach. It works. So since it's a shlichus, therefore, Avadia, you're right. Therefore, if it was a goy, it was a shadchan, it wouldn't work because there is no shlichus to a goy. So based on this, the rich guy will have to pay $10,000 to the shadchan because now the shadchan is considered his shaliach. He worked for him based on his announcement and he will have to pay him. And even though the rich guy ahead of time, when he made this announcement, did not know who it's going to be, we don't care about that and he has to pay him. Now for the second, what about delay? Let's see. So first of all, as we said before, very important to know, the shadchan's payment only is should be given to him after the shidduch was made, after the shidduch lemaisa was made, which means they got engaged. It has nothing to do with the amount of times that the couple dated, because only the final result obligates the sides to pay him. Therefore, since lemaisa in our case the boy was 30 years old, 30 or more, the shadchan should get what he was promised. Also, it could be a stretch, but it could be. When the rich guy said, I'm going to pay anybody who gets a person who's 30 years old, married, 30 could also potentially be samuch to 30. Which means, who says that the rich guy meant, I got to see if it's his birthday or not, and if it's 2 hours before his birthday. You don't want, the idea is, I want to see these boys and girls getting married. Tzarech in this svara, not sure, but maybe a little raya. Rambam and Hilchos Ishus, Perek Tesvav, Halacha Beis, says, when a person reaches 18, he should get married, based on the Gemara Kiddushin. What does it mean, 18? Magid Mishnah says, 17 in a minute. Once you completed 17 years, when you celebrate your 17th birthday, you completed 17 years in this world. It's kind of confusing, but think about it. When you celebrate your first birthday, you're 1 year old, you're not starting the first year. You completed a 1 year in this world, and now you're starting the second year. So when you're a year and a minute, you're into your second year. When you're 17 and a minute, you're actually in the 18th year. Says the Magid Mishnah, that's the time to get married. Chiddush. Not when you're 18. When you're starting the 18th year. So when you're saying, I'm going to give money to a person who gets married, a person who's 30, maybe you meant 29 and a minute, 29 in a day. I think with that we'll go with what most people understand. When you say the word 30, they mean 30 and up. But it could be samuch to 30 is also considered 30, because lemaisa, the result, the intention of the rich man was achieved. However, no. Halacha leMoshe Misinai. Halacha leMoshe Misinai. 13 means 13. But anywhere else where you say numbers, you see from the Rambam. The Rambam is taking the language of the Gemara, 18 lechupa, and the Rambam says, yeah, know what it means? 17 in a minute.
Will that apply also in regard to waiting 6 hours instead of 5 hours and 1 minute?
Based on that, the Meiri says, when we say that you have to wait 6 hours before eating milk after you ate meat, he says within the 6 hour. So many take it not 5 in a minute, but half an hour into the 6 hour. Lemaise, the minhag ha'olam is not like the Meiri, and it is to be full 6 hours, but there is such an opinion because of that. Lemaise, since the shidduch was finished when the chassan was 30, the rich guy has to pay the 10,000. But what you have to add, it's not as a din of tzedakah. Since it's a din schirus poyalim, as if he hired this guy to work for him, he's his shaliach, so then even if the shadchan is rich, the rich guy has to pay him, because I'm not giving tzedakah. I hired a worker, and therefore it doesn't make a difference how much money you have in the bank or you don't.
Would it make a difference if the shadchan began work on this shidduch before he saw the advertisement?
No. You said, if I see somebody, a shadchan, making a person who's 30 or more getting married, I have to pay. So you have to pay. And the fact that the rich guy says, listen, I never intended to pay to a shadchan who does these all kinds of tricks and delays, there's no taina. Why? Because in the ad you didn't write it. So that's matters that are in your heart. Dvarim shebalev, einam dvarim. If you want to have a condition, you have to verbalize it. You have to write in the ad, except Shaddchan who delays the process because he wants to get the money, I'm not paying him. That's a great tie-up, but you have to write it in the conditions and in the ad. And as long as you didn't, that stays in your heart. Dvarim shebalev, einam dvarim. So the whole problem with this Shaddchan is that he is acting in a very nasty way. By delaying it, who knows what could have happened? Maybe they would break up because of that. Who knows? And even if not, Zrizin, Magdimin, Lemitzvahs, and we have to run to do mitzvahs. But that's his problem with Ribono Shel Olam. It has nothing to do with the commitment of the rich guy towards him, and therefore he has to pay. And the result, lemaise, or the intention of the rich guy, it should be a lot of people who are involved in this and try to get them to propel people to action to make these guys and girls get married. And that was achieved. And therefore he has to pay. And we can't compare it to what Chazal say about Yeshua ben Nun. HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Yeshua ben Nun, conquer the land. There's 7 nations here. But he, in the language of Chazal, he was lazy and he delayed. And because of that, HaKadosh Baruch Hu shortened his life. So maybe the rich guy doesn't have to pay because he was lazy. I don't think we can compare it. Why? HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself commanded Yeshua, this is what I want you to do. And that's why Yeshua was punished for not doing what HaKadosh Baruch Hu told him. The rich guy never spoke to the Shaddchan. This is what I want you to do, this and no other way. The Shaddchan never spoke to the rich guy. The rich guy just says something very general. I'll pay anybody who does this. He did it, and therefore he has to pay. So the Maaseh, what comes out is the answer for the second time that we said. Anyone who publishes something publicly, I will give, without specifying a person, he still has to give. And in our question, since the Shaddchan fulfilled his part of the obligation, I got a 30-year-old guy to get married, he has to pay.
Why would he pay before the wedding? If they break off the deed, it should be after the wedding.
The minhag is that we pay after the engagement. Exactly because of that, because after the engagement, the Shaddchan steps away, and he's no longer a part of this, and who knows what they're going to do. Maybe one of them is going to die, chas v'sholom, maybe they're going to break off. That has to do. The Shaddchan has to bring them to engagement. Once he does that, he has to be paid. And therefore the minhag is that he gets paid at that point, in most places.
Because they have to get back to getting people engaged and not married. Right.
And if they break off, he does. The sides do not have to pay because the Shaddchan completed his job. His job is to bring them to get engaged. Why isn't that fair? That's the job description of the Shaddchan. Then it's in your hands. Do you want them to take, anytime they have shalom bayis problems, I'll tell you what's it's similar to. Rabbi Shtaim used to say like this. A person goes to the beach and he sees a person drowning. He goes and he saves him. Wow! You saved my life! He gives him $10,000. The following day, the same person who was almost drowning yesterday goes again to the beach, and this time he drowned and he died. He has to pay back the $10,000? The job description of Shaddchanus is to bring them to get engaged. He can't hold their hands for the rest of their lives together. That's it.
To get married?
No. To get married is a side product after you get engaged. Hopefully they have enough sense to get married. But that's not his job. After they get engaged, he leaves.
That should be part of his job, to make sure that they do get married.
That's up to the parents now. Now I finally got them to speak, to get engaged, to get ready. The families are together. The Shaddchan leaves. He is not involved. If they want his help, I'm sure he's going to help. But that's not part of his job description.
You have a lot of unscrupulous Shaddchan and they get engaged and they don't get married.
What do you mean you get them engaged? You need the haskama of the boy and the girl. It's not just the Shaddchan does this. It's not a scheme. We assume that people who are adult enough, intelligent enough, mature enough, responsible enough to get engaged, and usually the parents are also involved, are mature enough, responsible enough, adult enough to do the rest. We don't need a Shaddchan anymore. Fine, but as long as they got engaged, he has to be paid because that's the end result. That's what he's working for. That's a very, very common shaila in Chosh and Mishpat. All the poskim deal with this, questions like this. Lemaise, when the Shaddchan got the couple to get engaged, he should be paid. And he should be paid today. Today, not tomorrow. We're not talking about at the wedding. Today, at the engagement, or the following day.
There's no risk on this. Somehow it's the end justifies.
Sometimes it's how? It's what?
The end justifies the means, right? That we say this is
no, we said he behaved in a very inappropriate way. But that's his cheshbon with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. As far as a monetary commitment, he did what he was supposed to, and therefore he should be compensated. I'm not saying he's a tzaddik. Very far from it. Very, very far. But that's his cheshbon with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Since we mentioned the Shidduch crisis, let's try and do our part to try and help the Shidduch crisis. I want to share with you some Segulos for Shidduchim. Some of them are unknown, some of them are known. This is stuff from Chazal and many things that Maran Reb Chaim Kanievsky, my Rebbe Zatzal, shared with me. First of all, many times I was there with guys that got engaged, but they say to Reb Chaim, I'm afraid, cold feet, I'm afraid to jump into the door, I'm afraid to get married. And Reb Chaim says, לפחד פוחדים רק מהעבירות. You're afraid of sins. ממצווס לא פוחדים. Are you afraid of an esrog? Are you afraid of a matzah? It's another mitzvah. You're not afraid of mitzvahs. You're afraid of averos, not of mitzvahs. Segulos for both boys and girls. Seek the brachos of tzaddikim. The Zohar HaKodesh in Parshas Toldos, Kuf Lamed Zayin Amud Aleph, says that when a tzaddik davens, he opens up the channels of communications with the Kodesh Baruch Hu, and even those who are not worthy of being answered can be answered at that time. The Meiri writes in Moed Katan Daf Tes Amud Aleph, Le'olam teheh birkas Talmid Chochem chaviva lo la'adam. A person should always desire to get the bracha of Talmid Chochem, ve'yishtadel b'chol koicho, should do anything he can, anything in his power, that a Talmid Chochem yevarcheu will give him a bracha. Some ask, how is it possible that you go to Talmid Chochem to ask for a bracha? Go to the Kodesh Baruch Hu. Why do you need a Talmid Chochem? The Chassam Sofer explains. Klal Yisrael are one. We're as if one body. And the tzaddik is the head of the body. So is it not right for the head to daven when the arm is hurting? When your leg is painful, is in pain, aren't you davening Kodesh Baruch Hu that he should remove that pain from your leg? If the tzaddik feels connected to Klal Yisrael, and hopefully he is, that's why we're calling him a tzaddik, so the head of the body can daven for the rest, the other parts of the body, and that's why it works. Medrash Tanchuma says, fulfilling the mitzvah of Shiluach Haken is a segula to get married. Baba Kama Tzadi Beis Amud Aleph, we learn anybody who davens for others and he himself needs the same salvation, he is answered first. So a person who is in need of a shidduch, and this is true to any other salvation that one may need, he davens for others who are in the same predicament and he will be answered first. Just giving a bracha to a person, give a bracha. That in itself works because the Gemara says, Soita Lametches Amud Beis, HaMevarech Misbarech. One who gives a bracha, he himself is going to be blessed. The Ben Ish Chai writes to say 5 chapters of Tehillim on a daily basis, and they are Lamed Beis 32, Lamed Ches 38, Ayin, which is 70, Ayin Aleph 71, and Kuf Chaf Daled. That's a Ben Ish Chai. 124. And Rav Kaduri said another 5 chapters, 3 of them are the same. He says Lamed Aleph, the Ben Ish Chai didn't say that, 31. 32 is consistent with the Ben Ish Chai. Ayin 70 is consistent with the Ben Ish Chai. Ayin Aleph 71 is consistent with the Ben Ish Chai. And Kuf Chaf Dalet. So Lemaise, it's 4 out of 5. Yeah. So Lemaise, one can be machmir and say 6 chapters of Tehillim. I think it could also work. Ruach Chaim says to say Shiras Hayam, the Song of the Sea, every single day with Kavana Gedoyla. Bamidbar Perek Zayin, we learn Parshas Nesim saying that every single day. Based on Balaturim in Bereshis Chaf Dalet Samer Gimel in our parsha, have a special kavana in Tfilas Mincha, davening by a well of water. At the end, Remami Pano, Menachem Azariah Pano, he says, the end of Shmoneh Esrei, before the second Yehul Ratzon, should say chapter Kuf Chaf Aleph 121, Shir Lamarlos Mimamak Shir Lamarlos Esa Enay Eleharim. That's a segula, and others can say at that time for other people who need the Yeshua. They themselves are married, or they're younger, they don't need to get married yet. They can daven for others at the same time.
The first line that you said, the person who's looking for shidduch, you say?
A person who's looking for shidduch, or others who are looking for him, his parents, or somebody else, can also daven.
They say that name of that person?
You don't say that. You say the chapter of Tehillim at that point.
You have to direct it to somebody.
You have a kavana for this person to get married. Based on the Bnayahu is the Ben Ish Chai. Tanis Daf Zayin Amud Aleph, davening for a shidduch on a rainy day. Rainy day is Es Ratzon. To try and help singles, people who are divorced, widows, finding their shidduch, because the Kodesh Baruch Hu works measure for measure. So if you help others, you will be helped. Keeping the Shabbos, being makpid, and anything has to do with Shabbos is also a segula for shidduch. Why? Again, it's a midah keneged midah. The Shabbos is called akala. It's our bas zug. So since HaKadosh Baruch Hu works in measure for measure, one who honors his bas zug, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will send him his bas zug. For men, only for men, for boys, single boys. Ben Yoyada, again Ben Ishchai, Shabbos Kufun Beis Amud Aleph, to grow a beard. It's a tremendous bracha, not only for that, also to have children.
Why?
Gives a bracha. See Ben Yoyada, Dibur HaMaschil, Hadras Panim, Zakan, Shabbos Kufun Beis Amud Aleph. A single guy should be makpid to say Kiddush Levana with Kavana and Betzibur. Learning Hilchos Pirya Verivya. Shulchan Aruch Even Ezer, Siman Aleph, Beis Gimel Daled Hei Vav, Reb Chaim Kanievsky. That's a segula to be zoichet to have Pirya Verivya, and the only way to have Pirya Verivya is in order to get married. So that's a segula for finding a shidduch. Honoring a single guy to be the one who benches. You have a single guy over, you should honor him. He should do the zimun. Learning Maseches Kiddushin, and for that schus, you will be zoiche to have Kiddushin. Learning Maseches Kala, from Masechtot Ktanos in Shas. These two things are from Reb Chaim Kanievsky. Reb Chaim also said, learning Mishnayos, Taharos, also to learn with others. You learn with others, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give you a shidduch. I asked Reb Chaim once if we can create a new segula. We don't create new segulos, but it made so much sense to me. I said, Rebbe, can we say it? Learning halachos avashavas aveda. The beginning of Maseches Kiddushin, we learn that one goes seeking for his wife. It's like a person goes seeking for a lost item. So if you can't have the actual thing itself, you learn the halachos appropriate. Halachos shaychos to it. The Gemara says, Menachos Kuf Yud, that if you are engaged in a mitzvah, that you want to engage in a mitzvah that you can't fulfill, learn the halachos, and it's counted if you do the mitzvah. So I think learning the halachos of Hashavas Aveda and having in mind that when Hashavas Aveda comes my way, I'm going to do it. I asked the Chaim, can we say this is segula for Shidduchim? He says to me, yes. Baruch Hashem. You see it in writing?
I saw it in the book one.
Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem. So that's Choshen Mishpat, Reish Nun Tes, until Siman Reish Ayin Aleph, the Ola Halachos of Hashavas Aveda. Also, Reb Chaim Kanievsky told me this many times, Havdalah Motzei Shabbos over wine. Why? Because the Gemara says, Kol HaMavdil al Yayin, one who does Havdalah on wine, on grape juice, it says wine. Havyan Lebanim, Talmidei Chachamim. We will have sons with Talmidei Chachamim. How are you going to have sons with Talmidei Chachamim? You first have to get married. So we made it, that's a segula to get married. That's for boys. Now, segulos for girls, to be very makpid on sneers, to daven, says Reb Chaim Kanievsky told me, daven shachris, mincha, and ma'ariv every day. And when the chassan comes, you don't stop. You continue daven shachris, mincha, and ma'ariv. Erev Shabbos, to accept Shabbos 10 minutes earlier than the times on the calendar, and to daven at that time. And girls, single girls who don't light, they should say, I'm mekabel on myself, areini mekabelet like tosefes Shabbos kodesh. And before the person does this for the first time, you should say, I'm going to do this, beli neder, chas v'shalom, to get caught in nedarim. The reason why this is such a propitious time to daven, because Shabbos is like a spiritual existence after 6 days of physical matters. So when you move into spirituality, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I'm going to do for you midah keneged midah, and I'm going to grant you your spiritual request, which is your prayer. And, says Reb Chaim Kanievsky, la'asos chesed. Chesed is a segula for finding a shidduch. But the greatest segula applies to all, to everything, not just for shidduchim, to boys and girls, and for everything one may need, is tefillah. Parashas Vayera in Tanchuma, Siman Aleph, listen to our language. Amar len HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yisrael. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Klal Yisrael, Hevu zehirin b'tefillah, be very careful with tefillah. She'ein mida acheres yafa himena. There is nothing like tefillah. Vehi gdoila mikol hakorbanos. It is greater than all the korbanos. That's also language of Gemara Brachos Lamed Beis. There is nothing like tefillah. Ve'afilu en adam kedai la'anois b'tefillah. So, and if the person is not worthy, then I should answer him. Says HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He's not worthy. La'asos chesed imo. I shouldn't do chesed with him yet. Keivan shemispalel, umar bebet hachanunim, ani oise chesed imo. Since he davens, he pleads in front of me, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I will do chesed with him. The Meiri says, Ba'abasa, Kuf Tezayin Amud Aleph, le'oilam, yehe libo shel adam batuach. One should always be assured שכשהתפילה נעשית כתקנה, when prayer is done as it's supposed to be, מבטלת את הגזירה. It can cancel a bad decree. דקת הקמח, רבינו בחיי, this is Rishonim. Listen to our language. וגדול כוח התפילה. The כוח התפילה is so great, אפילו לשנוס הטבע. Change nature. ולהינצל מן הסכנה, to be saved from סכנה, ולבטל הנגזר, and to cancel any bad decrees. Mitzvah Hashem, we should always be zoichet to hear only בשורות טובות. אחינו כל בית ישראל ונשונים בצר ובשיב יום, דימן בים ובין ביבשה, המקום ירחם עליהם. ויוציא מצר הלבח ומאפל לא יראה משיבוד לגאולה אשתו, בעגולו בזמן קוריב, ואינו ימר אמן.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.